Yo, what's up, guys? Big up. Sorry if my camera is not working. That's for fuck's sake. Sorry about that, guys. Alright, no, but if I'm trying to get this and it's not working, come on. It's like the camera's not like. Damn. But anyways, I want to get this video out. So you guys wanted it the most. The last time we just did Cruzado. I want to talk about the one and only Palmeiras Sociedad, Glooby Palmeiras. So yeah, we're getting ready. So let's talk about it. Even though my camera's not working right now, I just want to get this video wrapped up basically. So at this point, we will just be talking about Palmeiras. We will be talking about Palmeiras fans. Yeah, I'm also liking up this week. Big out to Smoking Snake. So yeah, I'm trying to use this tweet even though Esteban's no longer here. But you know what? Screw it, guys. Hopefully everyone is up for the channel. Please like and subscribe. You know the drill. Don't move fraudulent. Come on. So smash up the likes, subscribe. You know the drill. You know the drill. So no need to explain. But anyways, let's talk about this. Palmeiras in 2025. What is Palmeiras? What is Sociedad Palmeiras? So most of you guys probably know if or unless you don't know, Palmeiras is one of the biggest clubs from Brazil, basically, and basically they basically are the football club with the most league titles of 12. Coming in first, coming second is Flamengo with 9 league titles, and at third Santos with 8, and the list goes on. I think Corinthians might just, but yeah, Palmeiras are a huge club basically from Brazil. Basically. They're founded by Italian immigrants basically from Brazil in the like 1906, I think, and it was called like something, and then it was called Palestra Italia, and it had to change its name because these things going on World War II, basically. And basically, yeah, Palmeiras has a pretty huge story. Basically, Palmeiras basically is like, I mean, people want to debate about this. They are kind of the Real Madrid of Brazil. Yes, in league titles, yes, but like, of course, debatable because of course there's the another giants, Flamengo, Corinthians, Palmeiras, and other rivals. Is like hard, but they do have a historic holding record of 12 league titles. Yes, it was founded in 1914 by Italian immigrants. It had to change 1942 due to the Axis power, so that's why it's called Palmeiras. Basically, so this is a giant club from South America. As we're gonna review their titles, basically, we're gonna talk about what happened all season, why Palmeiras is really important, what players and products, like famous products. So we're gonna get into it, including all the transfers. But yeah, but before that, let's talk about 2025. So okay, this is in Spanish. So big up to South Football. It's an account in Spanish that talks about everything about South America, including Brazilian football. in Spanish, so big up to them. So yeah, so of course we all know for Palmeiras. If you don't know, like I mentioned, they are a club from Sao Paulo. Their biggest rivals and enemies are Corinthians, as well Sao Paulo and Santos, but mostly Corinthians. But more recently, in the last few years, especially this year alone, a lot of hatred for Flamengo from Rio de Janeiro. And last year as well, trying to build up with Botafogo, as they tried to create more enemies. As Palmeiras does own for the most league titles for now. So yeah, but Palmeiras, they make some pretty talented of players basically. They produce some young stars basically, which we're gonna get into it. Yes, that includes Hendrik Esteval, who's now on loan from at Lyon from Real Madrid, which it didn't work out, which we all knew why. And Esteval Chelsea even as well trying to thrive in European football from Brazil. And as well birth of Gabriel Jesus as well and though and but yeah, Palmeiras, if yeah, they are a huge club. Most people don't know about this outside of Brazil. And yes, of course, we got some other players, which we're gonna get into it. So yeah, so this is the official titles basically, not including the in-state competition. So Flamengo, yes, they are the biggest club, which I'm gonna do a video very soon, but likely after Christmas, which is by far the big one. But this is one of the big ones that I'm doing right now. Flamengo, of course, have 28 titles. Palmeiras have 24, and Flamengo unfortunately had to surpass them. I don't know if they're counting the FIFA Challenger Cup. It looks like they're not. A Recopa is a Super Cup, so that'll count that. So Palmeiras have 24 titles. Not counting the 26 or 27 Paulistas trophies that they have won. But official titles outside of the in-state competition, I mean, it's still a major trophy, but like, I think they want to count that as like, major. So 3 Libertadores titles, like one Copa, which I think it used to exist, but not anymore. One Recopa. People want to debate about the 1951 Real Copa, which I'm gonna explain in a bit, as well. This trophy, which I don't know. This looks like a rotten off Champions League. I don't know what's this. I'm not trying. But there were some old classic trophies that probably used to exist, not anymore. But they do have 12 Brazilian titles, not 4. I don't know. Maybe this was the old Brazilian league titles. I could be wrong. Maybe these are Brazilian league titles. They're just reformed basically. But so basically they have 4 of these. They have like just 2 Copa de Brazils. Oh yeah, there's the real cup they were talking about, 1951. And yeah, they have 1 Super Cup and 1 cup of these. But yeah, Palmeiras are the second most. But 12 of them, half of them are league titles, which basically might just be these, I'm assuming. I don't know, but debate about that. Ahead of Santos, even though they've been one. So yeah, so for Palmeiras, we're gonna talk about them. Who are they? How big are they? Are they a relevant club? And yeah, so moving on from Cruzeiro, which I forgot do. As we did our last video, Palmeiras is by far a larger club than Cruzeiro. They've done a lot. So yeah, this is their biggest trophy count. So yeah, they've, like I said, 3 Libertadores titles, tied with Santos, Santos, not Cruzeiro, Sao Paulo, and I think Grêmio. I think has 3. I could be wrong, but they were tied for 3. So yeah, so for Palmeiras, basically let's check their squad. But Palmeiras, their current manager is Elder Ferreira. He's been there since 2020, I think, or 2021, 2020 actually. Yeah, I think 2019. Yeah, 2019 he was hired, and he's still there, and he's still coaching Palmeiras. He's Palmeiras' best manager as they won all those trophies. Carlos Miguel is not the current number 1 for Palmeiras, even though he is right now due to Weberton going off at the last part of the season since October. And yeah, for Palmeiras, they played since January till the 7th of December. And Palmeiras' last game, we're going to check every single fixture. So yeah, and this is the third choice, but they don't use him. But Weberton is normally the starter. But unfortunately, due to him getting a broken hand, unfortunately, a hand injury, he couldn't play anymore for like the rest of the season, basically, even though it was about to end. So yeah, these are all the goalkeepers. Center backs, of course, Gasto Gomez from Paraguay plays for Palmeiras. But this is a squad, so pretty like a good squad, I would say. Some young guys, of course, but of course, some of them might just be from the academy. Maybe not associated with the main team, maybe for like, like their B or C team, or So yeah, so I know they have Federico Torres, who used to play for Orlando City, as well. Also, like he plays like everywhere between the back line and midfield, left wing, right wing back, right wing, mid. But yeah, Luigi, yes. Well, so yeah, a lot of these people, including Victor Roque. This is the big one. This is the big one, Victor Roque. Yep. If you don't know Victor Roque, we all know the story that happened. Basically, we all know that his market value is 30 million. By far, Palmeiras is like number one richest number one most valuable player. Basically, he just Palmeiras his best season. So we all know this guy was at Cruzeiro, and then after for quite some time, it was just 6 months, and then after that he moved to Atletico Paranaense for like almost 2 years, and then Barcelona found him basically, and then Javi Hernandez wanted him, and then they decided to not play him, and Javi Hernandez decided to not play him. People were hyping him up. He got that big move to Barcelona, but it was short lived. He moved to Real Betis on loan. He was supposed to play the whole season, but there was a chance that he might come back Barcelona. But due to this, they decided that he had to come back to Brazil at the age of 19. And yeah, or 20, I forgot. Because he's now 20 years old, and he is older. So yeah, so for Real Betis, it was just a loan deal, of course. He had 7 goals. He only played 2 games under Javi. He got back-to-back goals against Leves. So yeah, 2 years ago exactly, almost 2 years ago. So yeah, but then ever since then things derailed, and it just didn't work out. Barcelona, which we all know the whole story, and Barcelona they want to scout at him, and they got him like January for nothing because they didn't use him. It was just a waste of money. And then went back to Brazil a year later, and then yes, he played in all the games basically for Palmeiras. I think including the Club World Cup as well. So yeah, so Victor Roque, unfortunately, I don't know. He might have played a few Champions League games. I don't know if he did play against PSG in the quarterfinals, which was the last appearance, or probably not. But yeah, he was basically the nickname the Tiger. Yeah, he's 20 years old and does chances. So yeah, Victor Roque, he's been doing good. He scored 20 goals since February 25th. So yeah, so for Palmeiras, he is Palmeiras' most important guy, important player at this point, as he's trying to escape. So Atletico Paranaense got relegated, and I know they're back for next season, but now Victor Roque just has to add a Brazilian giant and not suffer. Just make sense. Even though I just the big move Barcelona, just I don't get it why. Even though of course Lewandowski wasn't getting younger, but even though at this point they were just gonna get I just don't know what is Barcelona were gonna do honestly. But yeah, Victor Roque, and don't forget they had Esteval, who was from Cruzeiro, and then we all know he plays for Chelsea now, but he was at Palmeiras leading up to the move, and then at Palmeiras, he developed as basically, and then Chelsea bought him for like and like yeah, they bought him, took the money, and got out of here, and left Palmeiras after the Club World Cup, which Chelsea caught him from the start. And yeah, so let's talk about Palmeiras. So yeah, so enough me talking. It's been 15 minutes, so sorry. But it's like, getting so yeah, so Palmeiras, like I said, we're gonna go all the way back to January. The end of last year. So Palmeiras, they were coming off from last year's um rivalry with Botafogo. Unfortunately, they lost to Libertadores round of 16 against Botafogo themselves. And the league tied to Botafogo. They lost the cup, unfortunately, to Flamengo, who would go ahead and win it anyways. And unfortunately, this happened again. And Flamengo, Botafogo, Corinthians have caused a lot of problems for Palmeiras in these last 2 years. But regularly, Corinthians is like the number one enemy. Like I said, these rivalries. And then on Palmeiras, they're also known as like some like as well banter club basically. Um, Overall, Palmeiras, according to like sources, I mean not sources, according to the rival fans, I know people want to debate about the 1951 Copa del Rio as it's like the first major club World Cup. I mean, but apparently FIFA didn't recognize or it wasn't there yet, even though mini Rio does. But people want to do that. But here's the thing: the rival fans from Palmeiras, even like all the Palmeiras haters, even like the Internacionales, Gremios, they've all trolled Palmeiras that Palmeiras does not have a Club World Cup or FIFA Intercontinental Cup title, which has been around during the 60s. And Palmeiras does not have one. That's why rival fans have laughed because everyone else has won it before at least. At least. At least. So that's why people so yeah, so yeah, so yeah, for Palmeiras, what they won last year in 2024. Um, they won the Palestone against Santos. Um, Before Neymar came back, of course, way before it was the year before. They beat Neymar. They beat Santos without Neymar, of course. 2-1 on aggregate. They won the Palestone. That was the last major trophy they have won since. And Palmeiras, but the Palmeiras have not won. Yes, they are trophyless in the year 2025. They have Palmeiras. They have not won anything this year. They've won the Bally Stone, but a national title, the last time they won it was 2 years ago, where they clinched their 12th league title, beating Grêmio in that title race when Hendrick was winning. So yeah, they had Hendrick, of course, until May of 2024, May, June 2024, before he went to Brazil, Copa America, said goodbye. Presentation for Real Madrid, even though he's not going on loan Leon, which I might make a video response to that. So yeah, so yeah, Palmeiras, the season wraps up. They're losing the tie Botafogo. And yeah, season wraps up. So yeah, Palmeiras, they did purchase Victor Roque, of course. As their new striker, basically, especially, and Federico Torres, their MLS, basically from Orlando City, basically. But yeah, Palmeiras. They one more thing, they may not have a Mundial. I hate to say it to the Palmeiras fans, but it kind of might be true, of course. The FIFA Intercontinental Cup, which basically recognized by FIFA, even though FIFA wants to do two Club World Cups. So yeah, and Palmeiras, they just couldn't break that curse. So yeah, Palmeiras, they just don't have a Club World Cup. They were coming close. They played Chelsea in that 2021 edition, even though it was held in February 2022. And Palmeiras gave Chelsea a good game. I know they couldn't score from open play. They were so close on taking on penalties. Imagine what it would have been. Chelsea were the favorite because but they were just 5-7 minutes away. And Palmeiras, like, they almost have nothing. So yeah. And by the way, for Palmeiras, their mascot is basically a parrot bird and a pig, basically a green pig, basically. I mean, because they like being called the pigs basically. I think as well history even as the rival fans them. So yeah, so except this. So yeah, so Palmeiras. So yeah, these were the games. So yeah, I just hope I said everything, a brief history for Palmeiras, the squad and all that. But yeah, that's where they. So like I said, Esteval, Hendrick, Gabriel Jesus, though they all came from Palmeiras' academy basically. I mean, may not fully. I mean, yeah, some of them did join, especially some of them from Cruzeiro formerly. For example, but Hendrick, I think he's been there for his whole life. So yeah, so they're based in Sao Paulo. They're one of the three large clubs of Sao Paulo, or one of the four. Santos, even though they're outside of Sao Paulo city itself, an hour away south. And Santos and Palmeiras are enemies, of course, as well. So yeah, so Palmeiras in 2025 they begin their campaign on the 15th of January, Wednesday, against Portuguesa. They won 2-0 in the first round. Mauricio scored back-to-back goals. They used like kind of a B team since everyone was getting their Esteval. Richard Rios were on like the starters at Everton, of course, in goal. So they started with that basically. Got a nice two comfy wins. So yeah, so by the way, I forgot to mention for Palmeiras before we continue on. They did the thing. They basically participated in the in-state competition, of course, which is called the Paulista or Paulistone. They had that. They also had the league to fight eventually. They have, of course, the Copa Libertadores. They were in they were in in every single competition. They were in the FIFA Club World Cup, as we all know. Palmeiras were grouped with Lionel Messi's Inter Miami, Porto, Portugal, and Al Ahly of Egypt. Basically, Egypt's most successful, if not Africa's most successful club of all time. I think right now the most titles. I think it might just be the whole Africa. But yeah, they were in the Libertadores League Cup. They didn't part. They didn't qualify for the Super Cup due to them missing out on the league title to Botafogo, which we could have gone to Palmeiras Flamengo, but instead we had a Botafogo Flamengo. So we all knew how it went. So yeah, so Palmeiras had a 2-0 win, and then they drew 1-1 Northern away basically. And then this was their first big game challenge a bit for themselves. It's against rival Santos. And Santos went up 1-0 thanks to goal to Augusto. This is a few weeks before Neymar came back. Made his debut. This was like 2 weeks basically, I think. On the 22nd of January. And then they went 1-0 up and it was in Santos' control. And they had a free kick. They blew it, but they were and then Palmeiras, they came back and won the game. Richard Rios gained a late winner 3 minutes to go. And then Santos could pitch of 2.5 minutes in front of their home fans. And Santos lost at home. They let the pigs win. Yeah, they did. As they were as Palmeiras. By the way, their sponsor is Sporting Bet basically from Sid. But yeah, Palmeiras, they just outplayed them. Second half things changed. So yeah, they went the full A team basically. Esteval was good, but then didn't much. Richard Rios off. Yeah, I say I go yum. And this was furious, unfortunately for Santos, because they've lost the game. Neymar wasn't there yet. This is there. Neymar wasn't even announced just yet. I don't know why they put, but Neymar wasn't even there yet. He wasn't there yet. I mean, the announcer was about to be there soon. So yeah, but of course the Neymar rumors were about to be true. And yeah, and then Palmeiras would go ahead and lose this game at home to Nets, and even though result basically, and yeah, so they lost 2-1. Federico Torre went 1-0 up in the first just before halftime. Before acting, yeah, Palmeiras just lost that game at home somehow. After they had to come back against Santos, and Palmeiras were so wasn't much dominant, and they had the bigger chances. But no, sorry, yeah, and yeah, they go ahead and lose, unfortunately. And yeah, and the only 32 to those people attention. I know, but it was like, sorry for yawn, but like I was just getting tired. But it was meant to, like, of the. So basically, yeah, got no draw against Bragantino. Um, funny. You want to know what's interesting? Jurgen Klopp, of course, if you guys remember, former Liverpool boss manager, was at the game basically due to sponsor. Well, mostly because Bragantino was sponsored by Red Bull. Was now at the Red Bull, produce or Red Bull, group basically. So yeah, and at that day, Bragantino should have won this game. It wasn't even that close, and they can't even get a shot on target. But unfortunately, Bragantino are not getting there. Why are they not trying to show the line now? Where's the line now? I want to see if the 18 playing. But this is disappointing. I don't know. But yeah, Palmeiras, they finished second in their group. Could have gotten eliminated if it wasn't for these guys bodily needs, because they should have and Palmeiras had better, but if it wasn't for these guys, imagine if they would have gone a point. I don't know if it would have been a lot. No. If these guys wanted them, yeah, Palmeiras would have been out, because Palmeiras were not that great at Paulista. My opinion, I don't think they were that great. So yeah, these were the fixtures basically. They got 4-1 win, and then they had the first derby Paulista, but then the Paulista match basically on February 8th, which we did a watch along February 6th, even though it was like a hard I couldn't find the game at that time basically, so I had to use one of these sites. And yeah, Palmeiras, this was a crazy game, bro. Mauricio went 1-0 up. Roberto would equalize just before halftime, and things would normal. And then Corinthians with full crowd, of course, 73% was at full capacity. Well, Palmeiras, um, they just didn't have the full fan base. Palmeiras, they went 1-0 up, of course. Corinthians would have equalized. And yeah, and Corinthians had a red card. Roberto got sent off, dude. Where it was a lot of physicality, a lot of right. And guess what? Palmeiras had a penalty. Esteval, the guy, my lad, he missed the penalty, unfortunately. After completing a dribble, I don't know if he won the penalty. There was a handball, basically. Referee called, and Esteval was supposed to win it for them, and he missed, and that was unfortunately precious for Esteval at that time, basically. He missed the penalty against Corinthians. Hugo Sorov got it right to his hand and got the ball and managed to get away for 1-1 draw. Especially the second yellow, of course. Debatable. Palmeiras might, But yeah, it was open play was. But yeah, this was an intense game. The game ends in a draw. Third ball zone, but this wasn't same, bro. And I like the third ball zone. Palmeiras Corinthians. This is the Brazil version of the Madrid derby, but of course this is with more hostility. No away fans are allowed. At least Madrid derby. At least. But yeah. It was a crazy, insane game, bro. As you know, Palmeiras Corinthians is the biggest rivals, of course. So yeah, they drew 1-1 Santana, 1-3-0. Palmeiras also host another rival, within Sao Paulo. The game ended 0-0. I think Oscar. Oh, so yeah, Palmeiras. They beat Botafogo of Sao Paulo. They beat Mirassol, who absolutely got revenge and absolutely cooked in the league. And they beat some through yeah, and then after drawing, first basically, they had to play them away. And then this was the quarterfinals, and they won 3-0. Esteval scoring twice, Opus, and there was no comparison in that group. Yeah, they no comparison. As they move on, Palmeiras would move on in the semifinal as everyone's getting ready. Basically, Victor Roque, I think, already made his debut. And this was controversial. March 10th, Palmeiras had to play Sao Paulo once again. And what happened before halftime? The game was about to end 0-0. There was Palmeiras with a slightly better possession. Actually, no, Sao Paulo. And these are the final stats. In open play, it's technically 7-1. Palmeiras were the better side, even with less possession. I'll big up LTT, even though doing something real quick. So yeah, Palmeiras, they had the better possession, better attack, and they basically, there was a controversy basically of a penalty basically. Victor Roque apparently gets fouled, falls off the in the box. Referee says penalty, but apparently one of the Sao Paulo defenders might have gotten the ball basically, or wasn't contact basically, but the referee refused. And yeah, they had Oscar, by the way. Even though I'm not doing a Sao Paulo review, which we will, I should have done that today, but I just want to get out. Even though happy retirement as well, but he was felt bad because his team just he was trying to do everything, but someone basically, I don't know if it was Moletti or basically gave away the penalty. Basically, let's see, is this him? Because someone with a yellow card. Surely he's the one that are likely giving away pen, right? But yeah, I forgot, but yeah, they fouled Victor Roque. Oh, that's the one. The Ecuadorian fouled Victor Roque, and the referee and Palmeiras, they win a penalty. Rafael Vega took his pen pretty well, good, even though he didn't score from open play. Sao Paulo just couldn't do anything. So they couldn't, and that doesn't even motivate them. Well, they just got lucky, but they couldn't score from open play. But this is kind of an ugly game, bro. Just did everything, but of course, besides the pen. And yeah, Palmeiras, they would defeat their second biggest rivals, or somewhat, against Sao Paulo. And yeah, and they would have to play their biggest rivals, Corinthians. We have a Derby Paulista final for the first time in I forgot how many years. I don't know if it happened in 2023 or 2022. I forgot, but this was the one. And yeah, a week after the incident, on Sunday, Palmeiras lost at home to Corinthians. They had even in this game they had 8 shots on target and they couldn't even score from open play. And yet Reto, someone made that good ball basically, and no one wanted to mark that, and they had their only chance and goal. That was absolutely weird. Cause shouldn't they? And they lose 1-0 despite. It was just disappointing. Not being clinical. Victor Roque was not that great in that game. Unfortunately, it looks like, had the least number of touches. Damn, he was getting. And Roberto Mendes to Palinka up. And yeah, they would go ahead and lose. Everton did have not much to do. He failed to get a save and the goal conceded. This was not sustainable. This is ridiculous. Palmeiras had 8 shots on target and they still can't score. That's just brutal. That's just ridiculous. And Palmeiras were not playing well. They have not scored from open plays since against San Benito, and they couldn't do anything. And now, heading to the international break, for a week and a half. Corinthians would go back home with the home advantage, and it was 90% they were going to win at home, basically. And yeah, then of course Palmeiras. This was good controversy, and yeah, the league fixtures would come out, and unfortunately for Palmeiras, oh yeah, we lost. And then hold on, yeah, and then Palmeiras on Thursday, March 27th, we did a watch along the final. Corinthians were not playing that well, or they were just playing for a 0-0 draw. And then yeah, well, Corinthians, all they need was to draw. It didn't matter as long as they draw, didn't lose. This game was intense, bro. There was fist fights. There was like a lot of heated discussion, hatred, no friends and families. And Palmeiras, they did a little bit better, but they only had 3 shots on target. Corinthians just won. Also, in this game, there's a couple red cards. Torres gets, and yeah, they added on like 12 minutes of stoppage time. It was insane, bro. 16 minutes. This was insane, bro. And Corinthians, they had it better with the ball basically in the first half, but it felt sloppy. I mean, not sloppy, but like not like fun to watch. It was kind of boring and just trying to hurry up. And it all started around the 70th minute. A penalty was given apparently, and guess what? A penalty was given. Why are they not giving Hugo Suarez a rating? I have no idea why he fought Mom. He's still not Corinthians. Wait, is this a different Hugo? Or what is Fought Mom smoking? I'm not talking about the Hugo Suarez Uruguay. Is there another one? They didn't play him. They used. I have no idea why Fought Mom was trying to do it. Nah, this is different. Nah, there's not another Hugo Suarez. I have no idea why Fought Mob. Yeah, what is Fought Mob smoking? But he's guess what? Rafael Vega, he missed his penalty this time. He missed his penalty. Not given to Esteban. Now even he fired it and lost for Corinthians. Igor Sorov makes another save, and yeah, and then Palmeiras could have tied, and they had to fight. And this was an intense game for the next 35 minutes, like I mentioned. And then the red card started. But yeah, it was insane, bro. Well, Corinthians just went over the line, won the Paulistone Trophy, and Palmeiras would lose their title. Corinthians win 31st title of the Paulistone, 5 more than their biggest rivals, Palmeiras. The Palmeiras won it 3 times in a row the year, and now Palmeiras, they've lost trophy number 1, sadly. Unfortunately. Yeah, and they couldn't qualify for the Super Cup. And it was disappointing for to be Palmeiras, basically. And unfortunately, yeah, they lost this game. And yeah, they just couldn't do anything. So yeah, and then Palmeiras, they did got a second place trophy. Even I don't know if they should. They gave them a trophy. It's basically the Paulistone, but in silver, basically, not the golden one. So they gave them a second place. Even though, so maybe they might have gone trophyless, but even though they have one major number 1 title, so yeah, so more likely trophyless. But yeah, they got their medals as well, but a second place trophy. Weird. I don't know if I have a photo or on Twitter, but yeah, but Palmeiras had to play a new kind of foe who's been showing up, and that was against Botafogo, focusing on the league title, round 1 of the Campeonato. Palmeiras will be played Botafogo in the first league with, like I mentioned, Botafogo, of course, as they were having Pioli. In this game, this was a 0-0 draw, of course. It was like okay, disappointing. Palmeiras won a 3rd game without scoring, a 4th game without scoring from open play. So this was their 4th games without scoring, and Victor Roques was still struggling, I guess, at that time to score before he was starting to cook. but this was our fourth game without scoring from open play as well. Since somehow that was penalty, so yeah, Botafogo could have won it, but of course Luis Enrique was not there. So and that's no the first league game, and then but after the league they also had to focus on Libertadores, forcing them to move on from the Ballestone final and move on, and then they have their first major trip outside of Brazil. They had to travel to Peru to play Sporting Cristal away in Lima, Peru. I think this might be in. That's where the team is based, and they won 3-2 at the last minute. And basically but yeah, but yeah, they made their Copa Libertadores debut. Esteval started. He scored a goal. Palmeiras, and we're going band to band. Even though Palmeiras, they might have been gifted a penalty kick, and then Sport Cristal would equalize, and then Palmeiras Richard Rios the late winner. Even though apparently one of the goals could have been fouled, but the ref decides to not look interested. So of course Rival fans were complaining. So Palmeiras, they basically won their whole group. Basically, they won their whole group actually. But it started off with this. They won their whole group. They won all 6 games, 18 points. All of them. And Palmeiras, this was a good start, even though the officiating. But yeah, Palmeiras, they go with a 3-2 lead. Basically, they started scoring again. In the second game, they struggled against Sporting Recife. People want to debate about that. Unfortunately, in this game, Palmeiras, unfortunately, 2 of their goals were not from open play. 2 of them were pens and some controversial pens. And I know I hate talking about officiating or refereeing. It's not like my thing, but of course, Palmeiras, also by the rival fans, have also called Varmeiras, basically. Call them that they are the Real Madrid or Real Madrid of Brazil. That Barcelona fans shouldn't be friends with them because there's some. And I hate talking about it, but I'm not gonna lie, Palmeiras, I'm not trying to disrespect. They kind of have some favorable calls. I mean, with each club they kind of do, but Palmeiras might have one of them might not have been a pen then. It's outside the box or someone got the ball basically. And yeah, Palmeiras won without scoring from open play, unfortunately. But yeah, Palmeiras, they've been given a lot of pens. Unfortunately, that same rate as Real Madrid's people, debating, of course. But yeah, at that time, Flamengo won against Victoria. They just did enough. But yeah, of course, the pen just tapping it. Couple shots, of course, here and there. They just couldn't. But unfortunately, Palmeiras wins this game, even though I know Sporting Recife fan, even though Sporting Recife haven't done anything else. But yeah, they move on their Libertadores match in the span of a week. Match day 2, they beat Guard de La Portilla, even though it only ended 1-0, I think. Richard Rios scores a winner. And they were struggling to score goals at that time in spring, basically, before they started to cook. But they started to get more momentum. Victor Roque was still on. Unfortunately, he wasn't there yet. So this was the momentum. Richard Rios got the goal, of course. So yeah, Palmeiras that just didn't do enough. But there was just one goal going in. So yeah. So for Palmeiras, that's what happened. And then don't forget, they would have to play. Guess what? A few days later, they would play Corinthians again. in the Derby Paulista. They already had Corinthians, and guess what? Palmeiras, they finally get revenge on Corinthians. Finally, by beating them in the league twice. And, 2-0. And this wasn't even played at the Allianz Park. This was played at Arena, which is hold on, which is all the way in even though I can't, even though it shows me Google Maps, it's basically outside of Sao Paulo. They had to do that. I think they were trying to the stadium just a bit, but of course, but yeah, this is the arena basically. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah, just outside of it. Yeah, it was played in that stadium basically that day, and yeah, and Corinthians played bad, and this is why Ramon Diaz was sacked for Corinthians, which we're gonna make one Corinthians, but yeah, for the whole thing, but yeah, for Palmeiras, yeah, they started cruising in, and I thought Corinthians was gonna draw. I thought and unfortunately, Palmeiras, yeah, they were in the title race, competing as well. Flamengo, and on match day 3, they beat Grêmio away from home in response. Nina as well 2-0. Martin. So yeah, but yeah, that day Corinthians were just not great. We did a watch on the Brazilian channel. Joshua J was not happy. 5-1. They even had a third goal, but it was ruled off. I think a handball or offside. And Corinthians just have shots, but way off. They even hit the bar. And then Palmeiras would score, but it rolled off. And yeah, Corinthians played really bad in this game because they were not up to it. And this was unfortunate. And then after that, after they sacked Ramon Diaz, you know who they brought in anyway. But moving on, then Palmeiras would have to travel to Porto Alegre and Fortaleza back to back. And the Pigs, guess what? They won both their games, and now they would go on a winning streak since that Sporting Cristal game. And Palmeiras just didn't draw points. They beat Internacional, then Valencia got locked up. It was kind of embarrassing, honestly. That might have helped them, apparently. But yeah, this was ridiculous from Renner Valencia. Lane Rico Torres scored. Victor Roque just still couldn't find it at the back of the net. Yastaval played, yeah. And then against Fortaleza, the Pigs won. Again. And Fortaleza were absolutely gave up. And then they would get one back, but too late. I'm trying to come back to it, but it was too late. The Bears, but yeah, it should have been a draw, honestly. But yeah, they got away for that. Palmeiras, yep, they get the job done. And yeah, Palmeiras were just going on a winning streak. They beat Bolivia 2-3. It wasn't until this game, that Palmeiras has suffered a defeat. Palmeiras played Bahia. And this game, I thought they were unlucky or were just good. They lost this game. They kind of got 50% possession of the ball, but they didn't look as cozy as they were. And then, yeah, this game was about to end 0-0 until Bahia, there was like 7 minutes on the clock. And then Bahia scores the last late winner, like less than 5 minutes to go. And yeah, Palmeiras, they lose at home. They lose their first ever home game in the league since. For the Mexican Chris. Yeah, Palmeiras would lose at home. Season would wrap up for them. Not wrapped up. No, not wrap up. A roadblock basically. Of a wall. Basically, they hit kind of small one, and it was disappointing. Takes it well. Whoever's just couldn't save it. Yeah, and then the game ends. Palmeiras lose at home to Bahia. This is disappointing because they were doing so well heading to it. They played Serie A in the cup, basically, winning that game 1-0. And then they played Vasco, and guess what? And even though Palmeiras and Vasco fans get along, Vasco didn't mind putting to help Palmeiras win the league title to stop Flamengo because the rivaling. But guess who scored? Victor Roque has finally got his first goal in the Brazilian league. Finally, asked about getting the assist in open play, and Leo Jardim just couldn't save that, and they let this happen. They let it happen. And you can say this joke. Bosch got the better shots, and they still lost. Yeah, it was from open play. And there you go, wasn't a pen. The right call, yeah. Vasco are just kind of not fun to watch. So yeah, Victor Roque versus Palmeiras to win, and yeah, everything was going good. They won against away in Uruguay. They didn't play well in this game. They played against Sao Paulo again, the derby. And guess who got them the winner? Victor Roque again. Even though some people were saying it was rigged, Palmeiras against the refs. They had on too much minutes, or just couldn't hold on because this game should have ended 0-0. Palmeiras got away with another late win. Of course, unfortunately, they got away with it. They won this game, and Palmeiras were just going on good form. Flamengo, they were kind of dropping points here and there. And then May 11th, they beat Bolivia, and everything was going good. And then they beat Syria Cup. They got their form back until May 25th, on the eve of Memorial Day here in the U.S. And I know it had like drama. They played their biggest test, kind of on. They played Flamengo for the first time since August of 2018. I mean, no, August of last year, of 2024. In that 1-1 draw. And Flamengo under Felipe Luis were having questions because they were dropping points. They were 4 points. Palmeiras were 4 points clear of Flamengo heading to this game. And if they win this game, they would go 7. But unfortunately for Palmeiras, they lost. Flamengo, they just had the better and they were just much better than everyone else. They just controlled the match. And here's the thing. For Palmeiras, they had 3 shots on target. Palmeiras had a penalty. They missed. Rafael Vega, I think, missed the penalty. Went to Rossi's hand. Yeah, they just couldn't score from open play. And then Flamengo were given the penalty. Vascaeta takes it in. Arta Lucas wins it and slots it home for Flamengo. And Flamengo got a huge victory. This was disappointing for Palmeiras. They lose at home to Flamengo. This is a huge disappointment, losing to one of your now biggest rivals. And yeah, Flamengo would eventually take back the lead of the league soon, basically. Victor Roque got locked up. Esteval got locked up. Couldn't beat Leopard. But the defense was good, but Palmeiras, they were just not on it. Oh no, it wasn't even Vega. It was this guy. Right, he missed the pen. And Rossi basically made all the saves, basically. The Bable man the match. Just Lucas as well coming off the bench. And or no, he was on the bench. Oh, he played the full 90 minutes. Where is he? Yeah, he came on the 81st and would score in like the next few minutes. And yeah, this is disappointing for Palmeiras because now they could have gotten the advantage, but now they wouldn't. Unfortunately, they crapped the bed. They got a 6-0 win against at home, and they won the whole group. They lost to Cruzeiro, like I said, in my Cruzeiro video before we go to the Club World Cup. Um, Not the 0-0 draw. Like I said, Cruzeiro went 2-0 up with those two mistakes from Palmeiras' back line. Cal Jardim scoring those two set pieces, goals basically. And then Cruzeiro just controlling the ball. Palmeiras were getting frustrated basically. And yeah, despite having more of the ball, the better shots, they just couldn't create big chance. Allen does pull them one back the 87 to 86 minute, but it was too late. It was the right time to concede, though, to give up. And that was an okay sub. Maldon Ferreira. But yeah, Palmeiras, unfortunately, they lose their leadership. And then Palmeiras, uh, as they fight for Flamengos, they won 5-0 against Fortaleza, as you could see here. They just fall off, basically. And if you're Palmeiras, this is disappointment. There's nothing that you can do. Like, it was just not fun. And yeah, here we go. And yeah, that was Esteval's last league game for Palmeiras. And then here comes the international break, trying to qualify for World Cups. The European season ends. PSG wins the Champions League. Guess what? We go to the FIFA Club World Cup, the newer version of the Intercontinental of the tournament itself, the Club World Cup. So as you know, Palmeiras, they were in a group of Porto, Alehi, and Lionel Messi's Inter Miami, which we all know. So on this day, 14 days, exactly 2 weeks after that game against Cruzeiro, they went to the United States, visited New York City. This game was played at MetLife in New Jersey, East Rashford, New Jersey, across the river pond from Manhattan, basically, New York City. And there was a bunch of Palmeiras fans basically getting ready. And Palmeiras fans went wild because they went on the Brooklyn Bridge. And yeah. The game ended 0-0. Palmeiras were the better side. They had chances to kill it, but yeah, this was a good 0-0 game. Kind of ish. Even though this was disappointing, especially Miami drawing 0-0. And yeah, this was the part basically that happened in the Club World Cup. They had the bigger chances, but they just couldn't convert them. And Porto were just not that great either. But yeah, this was a 0-0 draw at MetLife after having traveled to Peru, Bolivia, and Paraguay. Now in the USA, play the FIFA Club World Cup. And yeah, this is what they ended basically. Of course, you could see some of these guys had a great game basically. Even though that's what Fought Mob said. Yeah, but once I knew it was 0-0 at the 70th minute, I knew it was gonna end 0-0. And yeah, at that time, so yeah. And at this time, this was before Miami's game against Porto. Messi comeback, which was a joke. Palmeiras won 2-0. They forced an own goal. Opus and Palmeiras, they haven't done much, but they were declared the home team, and they still have to wear their white away kit for some reason. Oh, it's only because of Alain wearing their white shorts. Maybe they could have gone all in green, but they probably won't. That. That's debatable. But yeah, it was only 43%. There was only 35,000 intended. They were not even much of the better team, basically. Palmeiras, they only had one shot on target because of how much space they were given. And then for Lovers to score, and then they forced an own goal. They didn't score from open play. And then there was this will be a factor. Ah, frick off. Anthony Taylor was refereeing that game. But there was a thunderstorm around the New York City area at that day, and it had to be delayed like 40 minutes, 45 minutes. And there was like 30 minutes left of the game plus stoppage time. And yeah, the game was delayed. And the game wrapped up 30 minutes later. And boom, Palmeiras win 2-0. A slightly better goal difference, especially in Miami winning 2-0 against Porto. Porto was kind of embarrassing. Semi, I can't lie. And yeah, this is not good enough for my And yeah, and then let's talk about the big one. Palmeiras 2, Inter Miami 2, Lionel Messi's Miami. By four, of course, Miami were at home. Palmeiras, of course, as they've been, the bigger club, basically, Barcelona, Real Madrid. Um, for basic. So yeah, so for Palmeiras and Inter Miami, they were gonna fight it out basically. So yeah, so Allen scored, and Palmeiras were not playing well. They choked. Luis Suarez scores. Good link up for Messi, going 2-0 up. And then it wasn't until the 80th minute where Palmeiras basically came back. This was similar to this game. This game was similar to the Chelsea 2 Arsenal 2 match 2 years ago, because Chelsea went 2-0 up, capitulated Arsenal. Um basically basically yeah, they went 2-0 up and they capitulated basically. That's how it happened basically. So yeah, so they were assisted by Allen. Rizio gets thought it was an own goal, but apparently, yeah. So Palmeiras, they would get it back into it to at least draw, but it was disappointing for Inter Miami, because Inter Miami had to play PSG and Palmeiras. They avoided from playing PSG. If it wasn't for those stoppage time, because they were just Palmeiras at one point was just less than 10 minutes away from playing PSG officially. So 81% capacity, but yeah, Palmeiras had the better shots. My goalkeeper just had a great game besides those mistakes. Because, yeah, Weverton did not have a great game. I backed Weverton, but he wasn't that great in that game. It's not that great, because what are you doing? Because Palmeiras, they're supposed to be better than Inter Miami. And they were not. But I love to see the two teams, fight it out. But yeah, of course, Tactical Manager TV, big up to you. Doing a watch along. I was thinking about doing a watch along, but George. But yeah, about the whole FIFA Club World Cup. But yeah, this was the final stages. Palmeiras and Miami advanced, but Palmeiras one more goal difference advance. And guess what? They would play the new foes against Botafogo, who upsetted Atletico Madrid despite losing to them, who upset both Atleti and PSG, basically, in a way. And yeah, Palmeiras would play Botafogo in Philadelphia a few days later, basically. And Palmeiras were declared the home team. This went to extra time, and guess what? We did it. But yeah, they brought in one of Brazil's new rivalries, basically. Palmeiras had the better chances all game. They had a couple set pieces change. But yeah, and then Palmeiras would, win this, basically. Good goal for Paulinho. Paulinho score, and I think who assisted that goal? Richard Reels, absolute player who knows how to assist, of course. Esteval, yeah, he was pretty mid. So yeah, Allen, he kind of changed some, or well, no, he wasn't. Paulinho came on, even though after scoring that goal, he had to come off, unfortunately. Michel, because it looks like they went extra defensively. And then, nearly at the end, Palmeiras had a red card at the 116th minute. Second yellow from Gomez, and then he got sent off for Palmeiras, and Palmeiras had to play a 10 minutes. Therefore, we were trying to do something in the last 5-6 minutes, but it's too late. They were just not doing enough. And then Palmeiras advanced to the quarterfinals by beating their new rivals Botafogo, which was interesting, which was cool. I know this matchup kind of that we got to see the two teams fight it out again. And they managed to win a Club World Cup. I was thinking about it might have happened, I thought Palmeiras would have clashed with Atletico Madrid. That was my prediction. I thought that would have been a great matchup, and I thought those two teams would fight it out instead. Because probably Atleti and Palmeiras, they probably won't get along for many reasons. Probably that's what I thought at first. Probably. So yeah. So Palmeiras they moved on to the quarterfinals, and guess what? They had to go through Chelsea. Correct. Esteval William had to go already. His future club. They picked him up from the strike, and guess who scored from open play for the first time in 6 months? Cole Palmer came back in his white away kit for Chelsea and scores from open play. And Esteval scores a great banger, and he celebrated that. Unfortunately, he just had to, even if that was a bit disrespectful. But then an own goal kind of caught up with Everton. Malagusto didn't score from open play, but yeah, this was interesting, bro. Watching Chelsea at a 6 p.m. game on 4th of July, even though it was at 9 p.m., it was crazy. Basically, Chelsea went 1-0 up. Chelsea, they were just had the world class players, of course, compared to Palmeiras. But that brilliant moment, Richard Rios got another assist. He got things right. Esteval puts it in. Yeah, Liam Delap was flopping. Cole Palmer, they got the goal from Chalava. But yeah, Malagusto got the assist. He didn't score from open play. It was an own goal due to pressure. And then at the 83rd minute, yeah, they forced the Weber to an own goal, which is unlucky because Palmeiras had chances to as well look for the winner. And then and then that game cost them. And unfortunately for Palmeiras, they lose to Chelsea again. First for that own goal. They should have went to extra time. Who knows what would have happened? Because they were getting a couple yellow cards here and there. Fernandez, I thought he got booked, but he didn't. We're trying to foul each other's off, right? Yep, no, so in Europe, yep. Jose Lopez, all that, but yeah, this was Alder Ferreira, June, and they brought Rafael Vega, but yeah, it was had on like 4 minutes, but it was too late. One last chance, but it was too late. But yeah, Palmeiras, I thought they played what? They gave Chelsea a much better game than PSG, and they still just couldn't do enough to do an upset, bro. That's the closest thing. Victor Roque finally get to play against Cole Palmer. But to be fair, Palmeiras, they gave Chelsea a better game than Barcelona, even though Palmeiras were declared a home team and this is actually a neutral venue. But it's not too bad, even though Barcelona lost 3-0. Now, at least Esteval, even though he scored against his now club, who's now at Chelsea, is expected to come back for Aston Villa as of recording this. He did it, bro. This was by. And I know he was getting cooked, but of course he was gonna apologize. He was gonna join, but this was the perfect send off to Esteval. So maybe who knows? This game probably might have been planned behind closed doors. Maybe they rigged the group just for this match to happen. More likely, because I thought Palmeiras probably would have played Bayern or something, or Man City, or no, not until the semifinal, or maybe Inter Milan if they made it to semis, or likely Bayern. That's what I thought. But they played Chelsea. They almost stopped them from. And imagine Palmeiras got that 2-1 if one of these guys were clinical. But yeah, Chelsea had the better chance. Wimbledon improved until the own goal basically, killed, dropped up basically. But overall, it was like so. But yeah, but Palmeiras gave Chelsea a good game, and unfortunately, their Club World Cup run ends. They lose Esteval. Richard Rios would leave for Benfica. Another player as well, I think, was departing. I forgot where. And yeah, and then Palmeiras, they were trying to look for Marcelo Ruiz, who are they still trying to look into 2026, it looks like. The links are back. They're trying to get Marcel Ruiz from Toluca, Mexico, to replace Richard Rios, that same profile basically, and they'll do everything. Looks like so. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, they lost to Palestone. They lost the Club World Cup, unfortunately. And yes, this is a long video. It's because Palmeiras is a big club. That's why. Even they don't have Club World Cup, they still. So that's why. So Palmeiras would come back on the pitch nearly 2 weeks later. They got a break. They postponed their game against Santos away. So Neymar Santos, they got an extra day of rest, extra week of rest, kind of ish. Palmeiras would draw 1-1 with Mirassol at home. Torres scored and then Chico. This game was just nah. Vega got the assist, and then Roque would go back on like some New York form, unfortunately. Palmeiras is the slightly better team. Mirassol one chance, very clinical. The right, and then but this was disappointing. And but yeah, for Mirassol they got away for 1-1 draw. This was disappointing for Palmeiras. So yeah. Unfortunately, winning just one game out of their 5, basically, and especially in the span of 90 minutes, they've only won one of them. So yeah, it's just not good for Romans. But yeah, that was the biggest achievement. Not bad against Chelsea, which Flamengo did beat them in the group stage, and then Palmeiras would host Atletico Mineiro. They got a 3-2 win, and at that time this was Fla-Flu, not 3-0, 3-2. Yep, an own goal they pressed Maurizio. Hulk scored 2 good bangers of free kick goals. 2 great free kick goals. They were quality, bro. Oh my days. And only got one shot on target on all of open play. But Hulk just scores it like there, like outside the box, back to back. And then even right here as well, like, couldn't save it. But yeah. But for Palmeiras defense, kind of started to be broken a bit. Everton wasn't, but Everton was definitely worse compared to the Chelsea game. But yeah, this was who they played after Chelsea. It goes against Atletico Mineiro, and then Palmeiras would have to visit the Maracanã against Fluminense, which, by the way, these two teams could have met earlier that month if Palmeiras upsetted Chelsea against Fluminense and won that game somehow. Palmeiras and Fluminense would have been the semifinals, and one of them would have been the Club World Cup final, even though I don't know if it was likely that they beat PSG. But imagine if that happened, bro. We could have gone a Brazilian club in the final. We could have gotten this semifinal. But yeah, this game is played at the Maracanã. Fluminense were absolutely not great. They didn't score from open play. These guys, after winning the Club World Cups, semifinal, these guys only had one shot on target. That was the pen. They didn't did anything from open play. That was embarrassing from Fluminense. Of course, a lot of these shots were getting blocked. And they were going out wide. They were just missing shots out wide. Palmeiras had 5 shots on target. And guess who scored? Mauricio in time to equalize, going to half, and Victor Roque. They went in, then Allen got sent off, but it was too late. Fluminense were absolutely awful that game. This is why I expected the American. So yeah, this is what happened in July, basically. And then they beat Grêmio 1-0, and don't forget Palmeiras. They had to play Corinthians in the cup in the round 16, and Palmeiras got a 1-0 scrapey win against Grêmio. Yes, 3-2, but 1-0. It was an early Federico Torre goal. He scores that, goes in the back of the net right here with that much space. And yeah, Forrest William, and yeah. And after that, that game basically then 1-0. Nothing else happened basically. So Palmeiras 3 points. That all that matters is they're chasing Flamengo. And yeah, and then here was the game. They had to play Corinthians again in the derby. They still had to play them 2 more times even after this. The game was really intense. It was going back and forth until the 79th minute. Memphis Depay gets a set piece corner right and gets it right and goal. Corinthians win. And the Palmeiras had a goal disallowed. The referee, they had a goal, but they disallowed it. Apparently, for the outside position, Roberto missed the penalty. Gets it right, but yeah, he saved the pen. But he did everything towards before And yeah, and Memphis Depay gets the winner for Corinthians, basically. And yeah, and then they would go ahead and lose this game. Palmeiras with the 1-0 loss, unfortunately. And we all know it's impossible to win the Club World Cup. And yeah, guess what? And then Palmeiras would host Yuri. No. They had to go away at Victoria. Palmeiras were 2-0 down in this game. They came back and drew 2-2. Obviously, they needed a pen in them. Palmeiras got away for draw. They didn't even deserve, kind of. And unfortunately, yeah. And then the second leg, these guys were supposed to come back. They were only 1-0 down. All they needed was 2 goals. And guess what? Instead of winning 2-0, they lose 2-0. Monero got sent off early. And yeah, he lost his head. Martinez would lose his head. Corinthians would win this game 3-0 on aggregate. Palmeiras were down to 9 men at the end. And Palmeiras just gave up. They literally gave up. It's impossible. 10 men most of the time. There and there. For at least 80 minutes. And yeah, Palmeiras, they unfortunately get dumped out of the Copa do Brazil by their biggest rivals. And unfortunately, I hate to say this, but Palmeiras and Inter Milan have a lot in common this year, calendar wise. Almost everything is kind of similar, except for at least they didn't got smashed up 5-0 in the final, but they got knocked out by their biggest rivals. They knew they couldn't win the Club World Cup. They couldn't qualify for the Intercontinental Cup. But yeah, and losing the league title as well to both Flamengo and Napoli like that. So very similar, in my opinion, Palmeiras and Inter Milan this year. All they had a big achievement against River Plate or LD Quito, Barcelona, Bayern Munich. That's it. But yeah, for Palmeiras, after losing the cup, they beat against Serie A, got another pen, and then they would finally participate in the Libertadores round of 16. They won 4-0. They won here 4-0. Another pen. Palmeiras were given a lot of pens, honestly. Red card for Universidad Victor Roque. Yeah, with the better chances, and yeah. Palmeiras. The Pigs would lose. I mean, would win 4-0 as an advantage on 16. And then and then Palmeiras got another win. They beat Botafogo again, this time in 90 minutes. Justin scores that because there was much space, even though they were not the better side, and they still did it. And Palmeiras, even if they don't play well, they'll try to find a way to scrape it somehow. Even though it's not sustainable, but it kind of worked. We saw that. So yeah, for Palmeiras, they lose they they lose they lose the I was just semifinal. Well, But yeah, in this game, they got a 1-0 win into the second half of the season against Botafogo, even though they have more shots, but just not being clinical enough. Don't have a great game, so that's probably. Got the penalty. Whatever. Universitario 0-0 because they use their B team won't matter. Got a 3-0 win against Sporting Recife. That was expected because Sporting Recife will be awful anyways, even though they had the controversy in the first half. And then Palmeiras would draw against Corinthians. And unfortunately, they had another penalty. Victor Borges scores his pen. Resident scores an own goal due to pressure. And the goals were not from open play. And then open play there was 6-1 on target, but during the 7. But yeah, due to pressure basically. So yeah, George is missing shots. Corinthians just couldn't put it on target. These guys only had one shot on target all game. No, it doesn't. But you know what I'm saying. But yeah, Palmeiras actually were the better team. Basically, I remember it was frustrating that the goals were not from open play. Oh shoot, no, my bad. Yeah, I'm kind of falling asleep. So wish me good luck. So yeah, and then that was it. International break over. That was the last 32 Paulistas. Palmeiras won like one of them basically, and Corinthians. I think there was 2 draws. This one, that one. Corinthians won like 3 of them. I think there was 3 draws, or 4 draws actually. Now I'm thinking. Corinthians have won like at least 3 of them, but Palmeiras just won. So yeah, in September 13th, Palmeiras played Internacional, winning the game 4-1 at home against them. Got an important win. They beat River Plate at the Estadio Monumental. Controversy again, they got another 4-1 win against Fortaleza. They beat River Plate 3-1. And then they played Bahia. They lose, unfortunately, very late. And these guys just couldn't keep up. And then at that time, Flamengo would regain their leadership again. And then Palmeiras, they're running out of trophy ideas. Palmeiras got a 3-0 win against Vasco, only because Vasco gifted them a goal every 6 minutes on average, or 12 minutes. Exactly. And it's only because they did this, only because they don't want Flamengo to champion. And Vasco are a joke anyways. I'm not surprised. And then they beat Sao Paulo 3-2. Unfortunately, Palmeiras, they could have gotten red basically because it's trying to make a dirty challenge. And the referee decided not to have a look, and he says no red card. It's a joke. That's just impossible. So yeah. For Palmeiras, they got away with it. I don't know how we're feeling, but yeah, Palmeiras in the semifinals. But yeah, I'm looking just tired, guys. I'm just tired. They beat UB2 4-1. Yeah, I know. There's a break. We have a few day break basically. Club World Cup, they beat Bragantino 5-1. And this was another big game. And then they had to play Flamengo again. This time in the second half of the season at the Maracanã. after losing 2-0 at home. Palmeiras showed a lot more character and fight, equalizing after the mistake only 14 minutes later to work it. So makes good ball and got a goal. Of course, Flamengo would have the league. Oh shoot, I forgot. No, it's something personal. My juice, I forgot I have one. Palmeiras, they get a victory. Or Flamengo, they got a 3-2 win. Vascaeta and Cisco. Assist and goal, of course. The pen, of course. Pedro absolutely had a masterclass, basically, kind of. The record got a goal, but yeah, he does assist him. And as for Essa Gomez, he does get a goal, but the game was too late. It was basically the last minute. It was basically the last kick of the game. Ref, a few more seconds, but yeah, that was it. Flamengo, this game was a lot closer than I thought. Flamengo got the job done against Palmeiras. Even though I said the performance had to improve, but Carlos Miguel came in for Everton with the injured, bone. He didn't have a great debut in Palmeiras. They were actually kind of the better team. They had better chances. They're just not clinical. Just two open play goals. Half of them just going in. But at least for Flamengo, they are more clinical. Same with like Inter, kind of. They've been less consistent. But yeah, they beat. But yeah, moving on. They would lose back to back. They lost to the Equito 3-0. And then things would only get worse from there. They drew 0-0 with Cruzeiro at home in the league. And, the Fabrizio Bruno red card. I'm not going to say it again. I've said this. And then Palmeiras don't have the advantage of 1 point. And then Palmeiras did what Liverpool did against Barcelona Champions League, coming back from 3-0 down to winning it all 4-0 on only 90 minutes. It was possible. And yeah, for LD Quito, just one shot on target. Boom, they capitulated. These guys bottled it. They couldn't. But yeah, this is a famous comeback. Just like Barcelona Liverpool. Yeah, no, I sound so tired. Big up. I'm just tired. And then after that, they beat UB 2-0. They beat Santos without Neymar, who didn't play a single minute. I mean, Neymar, of course, was injured again at that time. So, yeah, yeah. These were shots. Palmeiras had 14 shots on target. That's just not. But yeah, Palmeiras would lose to Mirassol, and then during their international break, they had to play one game. They had to play Santos again, like almost 10 days later. They lost this time away. Neymar got the assist, or I forgot who assisted. Santos Neymar played well, just not being. But yeah, they got a victory here and there. And then for Palmeiras, they would keep dropping points. It was likely that they were going to lose the league Libertadores as well as losing everything. Especially that Libertadores title important because that could lead you winning more trophies basically. Super Cup, the FIFA, you know what? With the titles that come into it. Coming on to our 5. Of course, because I'm going. But yeah, Palmeiras back no draws against Victoria Fluminense, preparing for that Copa Libertadores final. This is the B team kind of against Gremio. Of course, lost. Mhm. And yeah, and then yeah, the game against Flamengo was over. And then let's just talk about it. Palmeiras' last three games. Palmeiras' last L was against Flamengo. Palmeiras lost the Libertadores final. They did not qualify for anything, unfortunately. They missed out the FIFA Intercontinental Cup. They did not qualify for the 2029 Club World Cup edition, even though they're still in like another 3 years for the cycle. So yeah, so Danilo gets the header, and Palmeiras would play Flamengo again. And yes, I know I wasn't sounding as energetic. I'm just tired, so hopefully you understand. But yeah, Flamengo, they win the Teta Campeonato for past Palmeiras. And yeah, Palmeiras, nothing to say or talk about. But yeah, the season was over from there. Palmeiras would win against Atletico Milan Serie A, but only because you know why. And even though done anything. But yeah, it was over in my opinion. Palmeiras' season came to an end after this game, and yeah. So yeah, let's just talk about Alder Perez Palmeiras. These are the league games they have. Sao Paulo again against Portuguese. They'll kick off against Santos, and they more likely if he's still there. So yeah, my opinion. The season for Palmeiras was just not good. Honestly, everything sucked for Palmeiras. I might have to just pull it up. I know I sound tired, and sorry about that. I just didn't have enough sleep tonight. For Palmeiras, they lost everything. And I have to put the banter, of course. It looks like they renewed Alden Ferreira's contract, basically. He's staying until 2027. They're backing him, even though, of course, a lot of people are like kind of getting fed up. But yeah, if Palmeiras don't win anything next year, and if they probably don't win the Paulista, then they might have some serious questions to answer, even though it's only been 1 year. Flamengo in 2023, that was their season of going trophyless. But who's the worst one? I mean, don't get me wrong, Flamengo 2023 had to see Fluminense win the Libertadores and Carioca, and Palmeiras went down and all that. Palmeiras could have done the treble somewhat, I guess. But yeah, the computer's loading up, going slow. Palmeiras' women's at least won the women's cup. Basically, they actually did a treble. They win the women's Paulistone Cup. I don't know about the league or what's the, but yeah, Corinthians, their biggest rivals, and Flamengo basically stole all their trophy. And yeah, it's been confirmed. 2025 has absolutely been a tough year to be a Palmeirense, bro. Runners up in the Paulista, runners in the Brazilian League, runners up in Libertadores, eliminated by Corinthians. Corinthians is not Copa do Brazil, Flamengo as well. And yeah, of course, we all know you guys were not going to win the Club World Cup. You guys did not qualify for the Intercontinental Cup. You guys did not qualify for the Recopa or Super Cup. So yeah, it sucks to be a Palmeirense fan. Unfortunately, everything sucks. And you probably hate Chelsea at this point as well, because even they too have been involved in stopping you making trophies. And Vasco, they're gonna have to hold that. Which I'm absolutely gonna do a cooking session tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. So yeah. For Palmeiras, I thought there was like problems in like maybe the build up, maybe Aldo Ferreira. And maybe he was being found out and he just couldn't work the tactics a bit better, or different chain game plans, and like people get fed up, tired. and there wasn't much injuries to add on. But even though injuries suck, but even if it's not 100% fault, so we'll see what happens. But if he keeps making some of these board decisions, I don't think Palmeiras wins anything next year. I don't know if Palmeiras will win anything. So yeah, so it sucks to be a Palmeiras fan. They had to see Flamengo win up to 6 trophies. Corinthians, winning 2 trophies on their head tops, basically. And yeah, everything sucks to be a Palmeiras fan. Going trophyless like Inter Milan, Real Madrid of this year, doing absolutely nothing. And Palmeiras, they've only won 1 trophy since that Stone last year. In Flamengo, they've won 8 trophies in Flamengo. They're likely winning the Recopa and the Super Cup. Well, guess what? One of their rivals of Palmeiras will win it anyway, so it sucks anyway. So be prepared for the long ride for Palmeiras. If Felipe Luis will stay and will continue owning Ferrari, then yeah. So yeah, so for Palmeiras, they just need to rebuild their minds and just get everything resting for the new year. So yeah, so Palmeiras this season, even though I think it's great, just unfortunately trophyless. So I would say B minus at minimum, B or B minus in between. I would say that's my final report. I would say for Palmeiras, not a bad season. You didn't lose, but just on our second place. Unfortunately, like an Arsenal, Inter Milan type of season, kind of. And it sucks. It's boring. And Palmeiras, unfortunately, many controversy stories. It's Palmeiras, even though some people say the refs and all that, I'm not buying into it. But if it was true, then I might just do C or C minus if they have point reduction of corruption. But I doubt it. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe. Palmeiras, this was a long one because, of course, they're big, even though. But yeah, we'll be back for more of these videos. So yeah, that's tells you for Palmeiras. Palmeiras, they have 7.5 million Instagram followers as of right now that I remember. Over 2 million YouTube subs. And yeah, just bigger than a lot of clubs with songs. But yeah, that's going to be it, guys. I will be ending the stream video, so sorry if it took me a long time. So yeah, big up.